So they went back, get the
Add egg and
add eggs and
oil.
oil, and then take off like crazy.
Crazy.
Good evening and welcome, including all of the audience crowd. This is the Tuesday, November 16th, City Council meeting. Our normal council meetings the third Wednesday. We moved ours up because we have a deadline to the Lieutenant Governor's office to certify our election to approve our canvass. So it's Tuesday night, even though we normally meet Wednesday. I hope everybody got the message and we don't have people showing up tomorrow night to a dark building. So let's go ahead and get started. We have 4 of our council members here. Council members Spatz, Seeley, Kirk, and Alston. Let's go ahead and get started. We will have the Pledge of Allegiance, and anyone who'd like to offer a prayer and thought for this evening is welcome to do so. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would anyone like to offer a thought or prayer for this evening? Anyone in the audience? Council members?
No, I'd rather have someone else. It's just I don't want the opportunity to pass.
I'm a resident.
Give us your name. You're welcome to take your mask off.
I have a bit of a cold. I'm doing this for your sake.
Thank you.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for the opportunity to meet tonight. We are grateful for all these people who are here, who are donating so much time and energy and wisdom to benefit the citizens of Providence. We ask thee to bless everyone with clarity and good judgment and safety. Please bless everyone's families. We are grateful for this wonderful city and the great heritage it has. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
And I also offer a thought. I didn't want to preclude the prayer, but I have a small thought there.
Sure. Excellent.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. You may have already heard this. I'm not the author of it, but it really hit home for me. It says, when a flashlight grows dim or quits working, do you just throw it away? Of course not. You change the batteries. When a person messes up or finds themselves in a dark place, do you cast them aside? Of course not. You help them change their batteries. Some need AA, attention and affection. Some need AAA, attention, affection, and acceptance. Some need C, compassion. Some need D, direction. And if they still don't seem to shine, simply sit with them and share your light.
Very nice.
I'm not the author, so
You know who the author is?
I'd have to go back to Facebook and find it.
Sucker book.
Okay. We have no public hearing tonight. We have a fairly short agenda. We start with item number 1, which is approval of the minutes. Providence City Council will consider approval of the minutes of October 20th, 2021. Could I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of
Motion to approve the minutes from Councilmember Seeley. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I assume you've all had a chance to read the minutes. I don't find any necessary changes or corrections. Anyone else? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the minutes of October 20th, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Item number 2, elections report canvas City Council will review, discuss, and consider for approval of city's 2021 general election canvass report from the county, which includes nomination of a new mayor, 2 council members, and a proposition. And will declare those persons the highest number of votes for the report as the newly elected officials for the Providence City come January 3rd. January 3rd is the first Monday of the year. Ty?
You should have all received the report that we got from the county. This is also on our website under the 2021 elections page for anybody to want to look through that. I'll just briefly go over the numbers for our records. We have 5,013 registered voters. We had 2,806 who casted their vote, which turned out to be almost 56%. As indicated by the official results, Jeff Carlos Nebaker and Janelle Seeley were voted in as the 2 new council members, and Kathleen Alder will be the new mayor. We had a proposition on the ballot. We had 81%, or 2,265 vote against the proposition, and 530 vote for the proposition. This proposition was for the annexation of the vineyard property on the north face. A few more statistics. Let's see. As I mentioned, we had almost 56% voter turnout. We had 113 that were not accepted ballots. 9 were unsigned. 19 did not have signatures that matched. 85 were returned late, most marked invalid. Some other numbers to consider in comparison with other cities around the area. Millville had a 41% turnout, North Logan 44%, Smithville 38, Nibley 38, River Heights 41, and Hyde Park 40. So in comparison, we had pretty good turnout.
In comparison, we beat all the other cities.
That-
You have Logan's number.
I don't have Logan.
Theirs is traditionally like 13%.
Yeah.
Just
So we had a really good turnout. Last census that I found put Providence at a population of 8,000. As I mentioned, we had 5,000 registered voters, 2,806 who voted. Any questions?
How about a comment? We have one precinct in Providence that historically has the best turnout in the state of Utah. It's precinct 4, which is bounded on the north side by Center Street and on the south side by Canyon Road. And of course, the east is the Sherwood Drive, and the west, I'm not sure. There's a small portion of it goes into downtown area, but that's precinct 4. And if the city did 56%, precinct 4 probably did 75 or 80%. The last election was a general election last year. The county overall had a high turnout. Providence had the highest turnout with 93.2, I think it was 93.4, something like that.
It was a lot.
Just anyway, almost everybody turned out.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Any questions or comments?
Thank you. Thank you, Ty. Okay. Okay, I need a motion to approve the elections report and canvas for the November 3rd election and the corresponding results thereof.
I can make it. Go ahead. No. Shine your light. Go ahead. I'll shine after you.
I'll make a motion that we approve the election report, the canvas, and the results of the election for Providence City.
Motion for council member staff. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second for council member Paulson. All in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Lichty, item number 3, Lichty subdivision completion date. We missed the public comments. Jeff? Is that your family there, I assume?
Yeah, it's my son's house.
We have a public comment portion that you're welcome to chime in. No? Anything you'd like to say or? Okay, so we asked for
We
public
say
comment about,
congratulations. We say congratulations on being elected. Sorry.
we asked for public comment on items that are not on the agenda during a public comment portion. And for items that are on the agenda, we do invite public comment, and we ask members of the public to join the discussion. If you go to other city councils in most cities, they don't do that. There's a public comment portion, and that's it. And some there's a public comment portion, and you have to sign in to be able to speak during the public comment portion. So we do go out of our way to entertain public comment and welcome members of the public to give us their thoughts and questions and all that. So, okay, let's go ahead and move on. Lichty, item number 3, Lichty subdivision completion date extension. City Council will consider it may take action on a request by Michael Lichty to extend the completion date for the Lichty subdivision to October of 2022. Scarlett, is this?
Michael's not here. And I reminded him that it was on Tuesday, but I'm hoping that he's not a Wednesday casualty because he's usually here. Do you want to discuss this even though he's not here?
For the council's benefit, I understand what he's
Okay,
project.
okay. So they're doing a subdivision and they had it all approved. And their first completion date was November 16th, 2020. We were interested in a portion of the property that they were subdividing because it's right next to our current Eck Hill or Eck Reservoir. And so we were thinking that perhaps the city would like to increase our property there for future expansion of water needs. After going back and forth for quite some time, we decided it wasn't the right time. And so we ended up passing on that, but that did delay them. So they asked for an extension in November of 2020, and they were granted till November 16th of this year, which is tonight. Then with the contractors, and they had to verify an easement, they just have not been able to get the infrastructure complete. Rob, I think they've put a service in or something, but they've still got sewer line to extend. And so they would like to have an extension on their development agreement so that they can finish that up this coming year. They'll put it out, if you give them the extension, they'll put it out to bid and get it finished up. I'm not sure what's remaining as far as what needs to be completed. Rob may have an idea on that, but I'm not really sure what they have remaining, but they would like to have an extension for one more year to get the improvements completed. One of the things that is in favor of this, if you're so inclined, this subdivision happens to be back off the street. It's not out and impacting a public street. They're actually, it's only 2 lots that will be accessing the public street at this point in time. And so it's not like there is partially built infrastructure in the public right of way or impacting people coming and going. It is back on the private property at this point in time. So any questions, concerns? Okay, thank you.
No questions. Do I have a motion to We have a motion from the council to extend the completion date for the Lecty property subdivision.
I'll make a motion. We approve item number 3, Lichty subdivision completion date extension.
Motion from Councilmember Paulson, vote a second.
I'll second it.
Second from Councilmember Speth. Any further discussion or questions?
I actually have a question. I'm wondering what laws or ordinances have changed since the original application that might impact their development. I believe that it's minimal, but I'm curious what.
The interesting thing about the way the state code is, once someone presents their complete application, then for them, the laws are kind of frozen in time. So unless we may change ordinances after that, but unless there was some really compelling life safety type ordinance, even if we changed them, it wouldn't affect their development because they submitted their application and they were approved under a set of ordinances. And as long as they keep following the path, they are good to go.
So Scarlett, I think if I can add to that question, maybe interpret a little differently. If this isn't approved tonight and it expires and they
If
have to
there wasn't an
reapply,
extension.
Oh, I see it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if there was a reapplication. Thank you.
If there was a new application,
has there been much change in the subdivision ordinances that would affect this property?
I don't think we've changed very much in the setbacks. We changed the setbacks since this property, so they would be able to take advantage of the, pardon?
Which setbacks, frontage or side yard?
We changed them all. Remember when we went through and we changed, we changed the front yard and the street side to 20, yes. And then we changed the backyard to 15 and the interior side yard remained at 10.
So we reduced the setback.
Yes, and so that's one change that would impact them. As far as the street widths, I believe they were already going with a 66-foot right of way ultimately when there's a remainder parcel that will come in yet to be subdivided. There wouldn't be anything different in their connection or their lot sizes. So it would just be, you think of anything other than the setbacks,
I
right?
can't, and even the setbacks would probably come into effect when they come to building. And so even then, it's probably not in the subdivision itself.
Yeah, unless they record them on the plat, then we go with the
Right.
they record, but
But then they would be more restrictive because we've loosened that. So I'm not aware of any, but it's a great question. I think it's good to bring up. So
thank you. Sorry, I misunderstood.
So is it actually a public road? I thought it was a private.
At this point in time, it is, but eventually they will do a subdivision back there. Their plan is to do a larger subdivision, only like 4 more lots, I think, something like that. And then it will be,
So it'll be like a cul-de-sac.
yes. But at this point, there's only 2 lots. And so they're servicing it like a 2-lot, a driveway with 2 lots.
So maybe this is a question for Rob. Have they got someone lined up? Or are they going to be back in a year with needing another extension?
I haven't heard those details. They struggled a lot with a couple different contractors when they first began the project. There was a lot of turmoil, I guess, in different ways. And so I won't go into details with that, but I don't know that they've got any current contractor lined up to complete this phase. So they're probably just wanting to get this extension so that they can still have that.
It doesn't affect my vote. I would still vote to extend it for them, but I'm just, or the way contractors are, anything that's just a small thing, they just don't want to deal with it.
And I'm not sure that they have. They may have somebody lined up, but not that I've heard of.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Hearing no further comment, can I call for a vote on extending? We've already got a motion on the table. I need a vote on the Lecty subdivision extension of the completion date. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes unanimous. Thank you. Item number 4, COG award. City Council will review, discuss, and approve the 2021 funding recommendation from the Council of Governments, the COG. We have the award letter. We have an agreement, eligibility policy for use of the funds. This is on 100 South. Ryan, you want to give us your summary?
I'd be happy to.
Do we applause
Yeah,
now or later?
Yeah, when do we applaud and thank everybody?
I think anytime we applaud, I think this is a good one. I think at this point, this is if there's an achievement that I've worked to try to accomplish for you, is to try to work with each one of those. I've met with many of the residents. I've still met, and just as an update, I have, in order to do our 58-foot right of way, so we have the full asphalt width with curb and gutter on both sides. I'm down to one property owner that has sufficient that I'm still chasing there. But I have one more that has agreed to sell their additional property. So we've got a little bit more right of way that we're finishing that north side. But this is the grant, and we had worried last year we'd come in. Well, 2 years ago we came in. We said we'd work for it for 3 years to get it done. Our first grant application was unsuccessful. This grant application was successful, and anyway, it is a extremely good option, and we'll finish this section we have in that course of time in the last 2 years, and just barely. We've widened first south from 200 west to first east. And so that is the width that will continue on through all the way to the roundabout. And so we've continued to build around it and make it more and more of a vital thoroughfare. And I think we've gained friends in the process. And 2 years ago that was not necessarily the case. But I think we've come, and with the sale of Mark's property to us for a park and half of that as a gift, I think there's been a great amount of achievement, and so anyway, I'm pretty happy about it. I appreciate your support and help with it. Many things were laid before I got here, but to see the fulfillment of that will be great. So we've met with, I'll add a part of my report with it is we've met with our engineer to talk about the design, finishing that up, and so we should have it bid out this winter and start construction in the spring. And this grant brings us right there. That is $1.1 million in grant funding that should cover the rest of the cost for this project.
When do we go out for bid?
Sometime in the winter when it's designed. Generally, December and January are ideal. But if we get it done before, we could get it out in November, which is fine. But we want to have it bid before end of February so that we can build it in the spring. So
I thought the power poles were going to be moved in October. Is that still happening?
well, thank you for
this
rubbing the
fall?
salt in the wound.
I'm sorry. I know that it's out of your control. You are not moving the power poles.
No,
I just
we're
am
not, but we
curious.
have requested it and we've had continued discussion. Honestly, in October, we had a item that we found an unexpected power issue up by Abbey Lane. And we were on the waiting list to get our project done. And we were willing to bump ourselves to get that
That's more urgent.
a more urgent issue. So anyway, anything you want to have on the power, we'll cover that good enough.
I think we're covered. They're coming. They'll be here soon.
They come. So anyway, we are making progress, and but anyway, any questions about the grant or for Order 100 South?
Just a bravo from
Yes, thank
me.
you. so
Thank you,
much.
thank you. Could maybe somebody explain the councils of government, the COG, because I've had residents ask me what that is on the agenda.
I will give it a
Explain
shot,
briefly
and
what it
then
is.
Mayor can help correct of that. We call it COG, C-O-G, and then I abbreviate that, and it's really a much larger one, which is the Cache County Council of Government, which includes all of the mayors. It is a body that coordinates all of the different mayors of all the different municipalities with inside of Cache County. Is that
Its sole purpose is to distribute 0.25% sales tax that's collected on sales here in Cache County. And it is all the mayors, and the COG is under the umbrella of the CMPO, which is Cache Metropolitan Planning Organization.
very similar to an association of governments, which we have as BRAG, which would be all of the elected or all of the mayors across the 3 counties, I would expect. Is that how they do it here?
No, they have
The
a
mayors are
board.
not part of, you're talking about BRAG?
Yeah. The association of governments generally make up that same kind of way, but if it's not here,
So historically speaking, you're partly right. This CMPO and the COG is going to be under BRAG, but for whatever reason, many years back, it was decided not to be.
oh, that's good. Anyway,
Scarlett
that
probably
help
knows,
answer the question.
Scarlett probably knows that history.
I don't know exactly why they decided, but I do know they are their own thing, which I think has worked well.
Oftentimes they work together in different avenues because they are either council of governments or association of governments in that combined effort. And that's what a CMPO will do, is coordinate the efforts of multiple entities. A lot of times when you're in a rural area and you don't have a large population base, you work on these things alone. But with an MPO, there's a lot more coordinated effort, and that's a benefit we have for that organization.
The MPO is a planning organization. So we do the planning, and it's usually UDOT that picks up from there.
UDOT is a block grant. Oftentimes UDOT gets the block grant from federal money that flows through, and then they block grant it, have a set amount that they pass through to NPOs. If you're not part of an NPO, it's a competitive process to get those funds.
So what the MPOs get is not consistent, like tax revenue every year.
It's generally a set amount, but
Right.
not so specific.
So this year, the MPO received about $10 million that flowed through from UDOT. And so we funded, the biggest chunk of funding went to fund 100 West in Logan. That would cross the Logan River, go around the church property. About an $11 million total project. Bridge across the river. If you know where
South and the
the
church.
big 4-story building.
Oh yeah,
It
they
would cross, the bridge would cross behind there.
Adams
Wealth
Wealth.
Advisors.
Adams Wealth Advisors, but similar to Gateway Drive, the idea is to take significant amount of traffic off Main Street in London.
Any other questions on 100 South of that? No.
Okay. All right. All right, so I need a motion to approve the funding recommendation from the Council of Governments.
I'll make a motion to approve item number 4, COG award.
Motion from Council Member Kirk, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Council Member Seeley. Further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Okay. And I have the letter that gets sent back to the Providence City Code Chapter 4-1 nuisances amendment. City Council will discuss and may consider taking action on moving forward with looking into and or drafting amendments to the Providence City Code Chapter 4-1. So we have the current code, we have the draft. This had evolved over several years. Latest iteration includes some updates from our current city prosecutor, Kelly Smith. I put together a summary of other cities' code for purposes of understanding how nuisance code enforcement is handled in other jurisdictions here in Cache County. And Tyler, you were going to put in a copy of the compare that I ran with the red highlights and the mark through. So is that one of these here?
Yeah, that's the 2021.
Oh, it's 18 pages and it's got a lot of red. Yeah. That's probably it. Which one is that? Is that the last one there?
It's the 2021 PC 4-1 draft.
Okay, that's the one that's got all the strike through. Yes. Okay, and then the 2016 one is really not 2016. It's just the latest draft without the strike through. Is that right? Okay, all right.
Yep, looks like it.
So Ryan and I have had several discussions about this. The city staff, you probably know, has been working with Unicode on updating our current code. This is a big chunk to change here. Kind of the history of nuisances in Providence and Scarlet knows far more than I do. We enforce our nuisance code violations on what I would call a reactive basis, meaning when we get resident complaints and the city acts, we do not have someone doing code enforcement who drives around the city looking for code violations. That may change, and that mechanism is also part of this discussion. So it gets complicated. Ryan has an update on that, an idea on code enforcement. I recommend, I don't know how, this is probably going to take several months to get through on the part of the council, that Ryan would be worthwhile to bring in April and talk about what she does in a limited basis. We had April follow up on some code issues. Her primary job is stormwater, and that's a lot of paperwork.
Her primary job is there. I think with Scarlett and I, we can go through a lot of what she does if there's questions there. But yeah, we can go however we want on it. Like I said, we've had a number of discussions. However you want to go proceed. One item I kind of was looking at today, just to give a thought, we have a definition section, and throughout our different code site, we have over 50 different definition sections, and city alone has 6 different definitions inside of our code. For the word city, there's 6 different definitions. So at that point, one of the recommendations I would have is with Unicode that we combine some of those kind of things, and some of that Unicode will help to do to recodify our code. Generally recodify your code maybe every 5 to 10 years. It's probably been 30 years. It's been a while. I don't know how long our last one was. So anyway, but that process I think would be good to give it time, and we can talk about detail. Another thought is to be able to start from the violations and say which violations are we wanting to enforce, and make sure that that's firmed up. However we get that list, whether that's surveying the council or looking at others, or however we do that. But I think being able to find that might be an approach to this. It gets to be really lengthy when you try to get code that can enforce anything. So anyway, just a thought.
Sounds to me like I don't think we're ready to move on this. I've brought it up before to respond to it, but I'm in favor of you. I'd rather target nuisances that we know are issues that we care about and not have broad definition. So if I accidentally drop a head of lettuce out of my garbage can and it sits on the sidewalk, for a day, that's never happened, but it would. would be a nuisance violation.
If it smelled, it might be.
It would smell and happily pay the ticket. And then secondarily, I think your point, it sounds like let's get our definitions and code cleaned up before we do this to make sure that there's not inconsequential, or what's the right word?
Unintended consequence.
Consequences. Thank you.
So the council might want to also invite our city prosecutor. He also is the prosecutor for the city of Smithfield. Kelly Smith. Kelly's been with us a little over a year. And he works for Olson and Hogan. And Olson and Hogan is our city prosecutor, has been. One thing, so Ryan, this would be an appendix with definitions that would cover all of city code.
Well, we actually have a section for general definitions. We just haven't put all of our definitions in there. Yeah, it would be the whole code. Yeah. One other thing, just so that you know, I did send this version to the sheriff and the lieutenant, Barchi and Sheriff Jensen. I haven't received a response, but they did agree that if they were given a chance to look at it, they would give us some comments as well as our prosecutor. So anyway, that's another avenue to get feedback.
Sterling probably has a lot of historic recollection of nuisances in the past that have come to our attention. It's not that there are very few. I think, from my experience after 12 years, I think some residents have been frustrated and they've given up complaining. And I think, Ryan and I talked about some kind of a survey of residents, and I think we might be surprised at how much we might possibly hear.
I think a survey might be nice. We can pull the letters we've sent and kind of compile something like that. I would, if so bold, I would give maybe encourage an assignment to the council, if you would, to have them come up with things that they might feel are violations. And we can at least put them in. If we do a survey, then we're not starting from a list of none. We start with your list and maybe it grows or maybe it changes. I don't know, however you want to do it. I'm open. So, however.
So, bottom line, a lot of work to do.
There's a lot of work to do. Code is usually a lot of work.
Sorry. What's the action item though? I mean, I don't think we need to spend time on this agenda item, but if it pops up, I at least feel like we had a discussion now. Let's not let the last 7 minutes be for waste. What's the action item?
Can I ask an action item the mayor gets to choose the action items, but can I ask the council to submit nuisances? Can that?
Ideas for a survey that you will conduct.
Yeah, up to today, it was in the hands of the city staff to complete their review, but part of the whole code review. But what Ryan is asking for is input from the council to say, how would you like to best approach this?
Which ones do you want us to focus on?
Good product and get some kind of feedback.
And then you will do a survey with that. So that's the next
Then after.
Four.
Yeah.
top four things that bug me.
Yeah.
That would be great. Top four that bug you, and you might look through this to see ideas. So, but hopefully at that point, if we can get each person's top four, and at that point, then we could build a survey. Then I would expect that I would send that back out to the council for feedback on the survey before we issue the survey. So that's probably next steps, if that's what you want. If you list it.
Animal control.
But you might list it, and if dogs is our biggest one, at least we could know that from the survey. And if that's true, maybe we look at how we improve that ordinance if we do.
We hear a lot about that.
Yeah, I know. Certainly the results of the survey, we intend to hire someone that does code enforcement. And Ryan is looking at different options. It'll give whoever takes that role an area to focus on.
Right.
So they're taking on probably a lot of issues that
Right.
need to be looked into.
And one other approach so I've talked to the sheriff to see how they would do it. I've talked to Millville to see if there might be a way we could combine together in somewhere. The sheriff's thinking maybe if we had a best practice ordinance, and maybe that's ours, maybe we build that and he takes it to the other cities and helps them to have a best practice ordinance. So anyway, there's a lot of moving parts, but it'll take some time. So. You want to operate one?
No, I'm not out of the list. It's nuisances. I haven't seen
What's on the list?
slaughterhouses and feed yards. Yeah, or cleaning privy vaults.
I like the reference to the water closet.
No,
Yeah,
hey, hey, we should,
Sorry, yes, tangent.
for slaughtering.
Charlotte, at one time, apparently Providence had a rooster problem.
We had a peacock problem.
I remember.
You got a little turkey problem
We
right
did,
now.
we actually did have a couple of different people that had roosters, but we worked through animal control and got that resolved. And so we've controlled our crowing rooster problem.
Make a survey, ask. I've talked to them, but, I know that some people in the city are not tech savvy and they won't get on and fill out a survey on the online platform, but maybe if we put up a kiosk at the library or the city office so that it's noticed in the newsletter and they get that and they read that and they want to participate and someone can help them put their answers into a data format.
So they can scan the QR code, or they can go to the city office and take a paper survey.
Well,
The paper surveys take a lot of time to process, and so we were hoping to avoid that one. We-
The library's a good idea.
Yeah. So we were hoping that it wouldn't be handwritten, that would take processing, because then they have feedback and anyway.
Library stuff's super fun.
They've got computers there.
And just from my experience on the library board, they say often that the senior population in the city comes in a lot just to visit. And I think that they would be happy to assist.
That'd be great. I do think it's interesting on page 4. Now I'm going to come back to this ordinance to kind of do this. Page 4, number 18 at the top. Number 18, if you turn to page 4 of 9 here, I'll go to it. It's not, okay. So it's a little different than unsheltered inoperable motor vehicle. As an interesting note, one that we have talked about before, this would exempt the restriction does not apply if it's a business conducting an automobile sales, storage, or repair enterprise. So this would exempt this business out of inoperable equipment. This may be one of those that then one thing we're trying to enforce is actually taking out in a section like this. So at that point, look through the ordinance, the violations you think we should enforce, and let's come back to some of those kind of things, because some things we may want to allow in one spot and not in another. So anyway, as you get that list together, but I'll leave it.
Can I make a comment on that? Okay, so if you've got a repair shop and you take a car there, sometimes it's inoperable. You take it there to get it operable. And so is that a catch-22? And he may not get to it for a day or a week or whatever, but it's still inoperable for you. And it's at the repair shop in line to get the job done. And sometimes they get started, they wait for parts, so it gets pushed outside while they have others that are inside. Okay, that's one comment. My other comment is, one of the trends today, and I read this several times in here about inoperable machinery. Well, I happen to have a grain drill in my backyard up on my hill, and I'm not drilling any grain up there. It's a decoration. A lot of people use piece of old farm equipment as a decoration in their yard. And as the ordinance stands, all that would be a nuisance. The other, okay, that's another thing. Now, the next thing, if you live on a corner lot, people look at your side yards, front yards, and your backyard. Anything seen from a public way or right of way is your whole property. That needs to be modified or dealt with, because those people, I'm sorry, I live on a corner. So everybody looks in my backyard. They know when I'm cooking hot dogs or whatever, but you know, that's where I chose to live. So I don't think it's totally fair to say if you can see it from a public way or public right of way, because some yards you see the backyard. And okay, and so that's another thing that I have a concern about. And then
If you can help me enumerate all of these things in a survey, I would greatly appreciate that.
I've
Is
got
that-
6 of them written already.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I
We've been
appreciate
having
it.
this discussion, so, yeah.
Then it is productive. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Is that okay if I write things like?
Absolutely. Let's put together a survey so we can enumerate some of these things so that we can, if we're going to ask and we're going to talk about, let's boil down some of those things you want to make sure that are looked at. And so that's part of the homework. Yeah.
We're gonna stir this can of worms.
So my question, I have a question of the council. What action would you like to take on this? Besides just continuing it? Obviously, we're not going to approve it, can
Do we need
How
some
would we-
workshops?
we? Sorry?
Do we need some workshops? Do we need to have, so a few people on a committee come together and work with this and make some
A subcommittee.
and work with
I
some
think I hear 2 volunteers already.
recommendations and stuff like
Great.
that?
I'll put them on my list.
Hey, I'm okay to work on it.
So what's the
Thank you.
motion?
There's another one.
I don't think there needs to be a motion. We're continuing if we're continuing. If you want one, you can, but
All right, let's move on. We have council reports. We need a motion. Brian, for the-
you certainly can if you want, but you don't
How
have
could we
to.
do that?
Whatever you think.
We'll make a motion to continue this. There you go.
I'll make a motion that we continue item number 5, chapter 4-1 nuisances amendment.
Motion to continue item number 5, the nuisances amendment. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second from council member Paulson. I think we discussed it quite a bit already. Can I have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 5 is continued to. So your staff reports. Rob, what do you got for us?
Well, our busy factors are continuing as usual. This break in weather that we've had recently has helped us tide up some loose ends, some very needed loose ends, especially on roadways. We do have a couple loose ends on our streets and water project. Third South in particular, we have a change order planned for First North. It'll be pushed off till next spring. Third South will likely remain closed between First East and Main through the winter, other than local traffic, obviously. So we'll probably put up some good closure stuff at that intersection, First East and Third South intersection. The reason for that is we've got some safety grading issues that we'd like to try to, I guess, think a little bit harder and get the engineers and property owner, adjacent property owners involved and see what we can accomplish for safety aspects of the grading in that area. And we've already had quite a bit of discussions with property owners and engineers, and there's some different options on the table, but because of timelines, we're probably not gonna want to spend any money putting down asphalt if we have a delay until we get it right. So that's kind of where that's at.
First East and Main, is that what?
Third south and first east.
Third
It's a
south,
really
third-
steep intersection.
Right, where you
On that
come
stop
up like
sign
that.
and you slide
Yeah.
backwards.
Can I ask about how do you plan to do snow?
In that area, we'll treat it as a cul-de-sac. We have a 99-foot right of way there, so we'll make a turnaround for fire and EMS and snowplows and treat it as a cul-de-sac.
So we won't plow up or down the hill.
Yeah, we'll just come
So
in.
does that clear the property buffer?
Yeah, we'll
We'll get to them, but not anything past.
we'll get to the last driveway and turn around, go the way, go back out.
And we have talked to them about that, so they're aware.
As far as the reservoir project, it's moving along. It's behind schedule as we knew, but it does look like we'll probably get an operational tank this winter. So it's going to continue moving along since we've had such a good 2 week of progress lately. And so I'm optimistic we'll be able to fill it with water, start some testing procedures, and we'll have a control room and a whole bunch of water apparatuses to get constructed over the winter inside the control room. So that's moving along. Firework Projects moving along. I think we'll all be pleasantly surprised at the remainder of Providence as construction crews do the main lines down the streets, that they're not going to leave a mess likely behind, since most of the remainder of the town zones 1, 3, 4, and 5 all have curb and gutter for the most part. So the process will be micro trenching instead of such a huge mixture of plowing and boring, trenching. And trenching. So it'll be cleaner and keep up with itself a bit better.
Will they stop during the winter? Or will they continue?
They will continue with trenching for sure. They actually enjoy the frost. It makes their trenching better. So that's moving along in that aspect. Our budget's moving well and on track. Lori's there to bring up to your attention, and we're still picking up leaf bags. We will continue to do that until the snow is burying the leaf bags, and hopefully by then the leaf bags stop showing up. So we usually try to take care of those as they come out as soon as we possibly can. So we don't just make a date that we stop doing it. We just take care of the leaves as we can, as long as we can.
So Rob, is our staff, when they pick up those bags, do they actually take them to the big dumpster and tear the bags apart themselves?
And we have a new dump trailer that we bought last year, and we put it behind a 1-ton truck and take it to landfill. Bagged. But from year to year and from trip to trip, things change with what the requirements are at the landfill sometimes. Sometimes we have to stay there and open the bags ourselves. That's rare, but for whatever reason, sometimes it happens. Other than that, I think we're on a good track. We're gearing up to start setting up our snowplows, get ready for that season. Questions?
Yep.
I was just gonna say, I would offer a round of applause for all of the work that has gotten done for in public works to have repaved the number of roads we have, to have built a water tank. This is enough work that probably usually takes a city 3 to 5 years to accomplish, and Rob has been doing well. And with the idea of the Firework project on top of that, this is a huge accomplishment that we've achieved. So anyway.
Bravo.
Things and all that stuff too. 2 major storm cleanups. Yeah.
And the veteran flags were beautiful.
I've got one question, if that's okay, Rob. John Mock had pinged me a few times. He's on First South. They're doing some compacting there. He's got one of those older houses. I'm assuming all the compacting was done, the paving was done. We hear back from him and how that situation fared.
I visited with a few of them down there that had similar concerns but as far as I'm aware that there was no damage
There's no
shown.
permanent damage or show damage. Okay, that's
And
my
usually the
question.
case.
I wanted to closely loop on that. So we haven't heard, and there's no outstanding concerns from residents of those. historic
No outstanding concern that we're with.
Thank you. Right, thank you.
Historic Preservation Commission is going to be moving forward with their commemorative plaques for the different activities that have taken place. They're going to put 2 of them at Jay's Well. One's about the quarry, and I can't remember what the other one is about. The water. I think the other one is on the irrigation water. And then there'll be one at Cattle Corral Park talking about the cattle industry. There's going to be a plaque that commemorates the blacksmiths, and one that commemorates the original mercantile that was on the southwest corner of Main Street and Center Street. And I think I'm forgetting one. But anyway, it'll be really nice to see that. They're starting to get those pedestals put in place, and hopefully we can get them all planted and everything, and they'll, next summer when it's time for people to be out and enjoying all parks and stuff, they'll be right there front and center. So they are working on that. Before we meet again, the tree lighting will be coming up, so I'd like to encourage you to support that. December 3rd or December 2nd at 5:30 or 5.
Starting at 5, and the tree will be lit
At 7. Yeah, and our lights, I just went blank on their name. I can see their maple leaf
Right.
Canyon Landscape.
Okay.
Canyon Landscaping. They've put the lights on yesterday. I think they finished up. Amber Wright will be doing the decorations this weekend. The decorations, she got some ready. So there are some here in the city office that can be purchased for donation. It will go to the family place again this year, and they are available now. So that you can come in, you can purchase them, and you can put your name on them and take them and hang them on our tree, or take them home, whatever you'd like to do. But there are ornaments here now ready for purchase and our encouraged donation is $15, but it's a donation, so we will accept whatever people want to be kind and donate. Also, before you begin, it'll be our Christmas light judging. I know I heard you say you had your lights up, so they
judged them. They're not that good.
well,
they are good. They're good.
you know, they used to travel the city and try and pick, but that kind of got overwhelming. So now we do ask that people send in an entry form if they would like their house considered for the holiday lighting contest. That's available on our website. They will be judging that December 1st through the 12th. And so we encourage people to have their lights ready by December 1st for that. Our land use has not slowed down. I was hoping to be able to say we're going to get a holiday break, but we actually have a little bit more than we did last time. So, but the good thing about that is that means the economy is still rolling along. So that's a good thing, I guess. I wanted to say thank you to you for passing the sensitive area ordinance at our last meeting. We put that into play, and a couple of land use items that came in that normally would have been in-house for probably 7 to 10 days, just because of calendaring the meetings and everything. We were able to get those reviewed and in and out in about 3 to 4 days. So I think that's going to be a positive thing. It's like everything else, though. we'll probably have a bump in the road and have to come back and see you again on something, but so far so good. So thank you very much. And have a really good Thanksgiving, since that's just around the corner as well. So that's really all I have, unless you have questions. All right, thanks.
Tyler, anything else?
I think I'm having, like discussed, Unicode has our codification, their attorney currently has it. It'll probably be a few more weeks before we really hear anything else from them. And then we'll get with our city attorney and go over it and see if it's correct. As mentioned, new candidates will take their place on January 3rd at noon. We'll see what we can do to possibly put something together, what they want to do with the swearing in. Yeah, that's all I have.
So in the past, when we've had swearing in a candidate as an option of who they would like to swear them in, and their city recorder typically.
I've talked to Kathleen. She's selected somebody to come and do that swearing in. So she's taking charge of that for the first Wednesday of January at 6 o'clock. So we'd have that.
Wednesday, not Monday.
Well, Monday would be a holiday on some. I'm not sure if we're celebrating. I think we're celebrating before. Monday is when they would officially be in office, but the ceremony would be, yeah. So.
I'm just curious, where I'm reelected, do I get sworn in again?
You do.
Okay.
So
You can swear all you like.
Kathleen has chosen former mayor Blake Davis, who's 94. And I think he was mayor 40 years ago, Scarlett, somewhere.
Probably. I could go out and look on the wall.
When I was sworn in, I asked Judge Funk to swear me in, our Justice Court judge. Kirk Allen had Kevin Allen, his son, who was district court judge at the time, swearing in. So we might like to make it a interesting event rather than just a.
Yeah, we'll stream it live so that anybody that can't make it. So I think we have one set up that would do the swearing in. So.
The default is this. Ryan?
Not to miss our land use, but I would guess that we probably had as many or more land uses. We had a record this year for the number of land uses we've seen.
I haven't counted the year, but it has been a busy year.
I would dare
On
bet
top of all our
we have
construction.
probably had the largest of land use requests and processes. As I've looked back, I would dare say that that's been a very busy year as well. So as far as staff, we've achieved a great milestones in every area, and to get Ty up to speed as quick as he has, and to be able to do the elections is probably one of the toughest things that a recorder does, being thrown in, because there is a lot of things that could go wrong. And he's done an amazing job in the ride that he's been at and been on the top of things. So one, as Thanksgiving is here, I am just immensely grateful for the staff that we have here at Providence. You should be grateful that you are well served by a very good staff. So anyway, I extend my appreciation to them, and I hope I can extend yours as well. So probably in recreation we've added, because we've added wiffle ball, pickleball in the last 2 years. We've probably done as many recreation events as we have in prior years.
We have.
And so at that point we have grown and expanded in many ways. So one of the big things that when I came, that got talked about as far as parks, we haven't talked about it, but was Jay's Well. And today, when I got here, it was a dormant grass and had gone into dormancy and lots of complaints.
That I like to call dead, and you like to correct.
I'm just going off of what I'm told and learning, but it does come back. It comes back and brings up once a year.
It just looks dead.
Looks dead.
Mostly.
But at this point,
But it's not gonna be anymore.
but at this point, keep in mind, we have put in a sprinkler system. We have worked with a agency in town, and brought another friend to the table, and been able to plant. We've planted trees, we've planted bushes, we have signage, and that park will be a gem. Not an orchard, but a gem. I think it will turn into that. And according to our master plan and what we looked at and said, hey, this needs attention. We have planted trees in the park, Meadow Ridge Park, and worked with residents to be able to accomplish that. And we have seen in each of the areas continual progress, and I couldn't be happier with the staff. So another progress we've made is fiber. I have at this point, you all are aware that I was worried about the first one coming on, first ISP, and now I can't beat them off with a stick. And so I'm not sure which date to go to the party with. So
We have 9 now.
We'll probably peak over 10. Because we have another one that's anxious, two more that are anxious, one that's signed on that I wasn't, that I lost contact with. But they were ready, and so at that point, if any of you are interested, and if you're interested, the fiber has been lit to our hut. And if you want to see inside, I'd be happy to take you on a tour to show you that accomplishment, because getting fiber into our shop and into the fiber hut is a big accomplishment. So at this point, we're testing the connection of the different spots. And so we have various connection points, and people, those ISPs are actively working on pricing and connectivity right now. And we are making tremendous progress.
When
This
did
is
it
gonna
get to
happen.
the hut?
About a week and a half ago, I think. So, but anyway, if you want to look, it's a lot of computer equipment, so you got to nerd out with me, but I'm willing to do it. And because I'm really excited that's got to that point. So anyway, that's what I have. So we've made a lot of progress. We're trying to complete a lot of things. We've got our lights, our traffic lights mapped out, but we still need to go out. One of the things we've been asked is to go out and make sure if there's anybody listening, or the council, if you know, if there's lights that are out, either let us know or let Rocky Mountain Power know. Street lights. Oh, yeah, well, those two, but street lights, those are out. If those are out, let us know. No, but street light, yes, street lights, yard lights. Oftentimes those are safety issues, and if we don't always, we work during the daylight most of the time, unless we're at council, then it's pitch black. But at that point, oftentimes we don't make it out. And if you are out and about and see one, just kind of note that. We'll take a look and make sure it gets fixed. And so anyway.
Let's see, I noted one a few weeks ago. Rob, if I'm remembering that was the process, there's a number on those lights. I think you had suggested we submit that number directly to Rocky Mountain Power. Am I incorrect in that, or?
You probably responded to me, and I probably gave you that. We can do that, or you can do it yourself.
But that's where it's
Either way.
going ultimately.
Ultimately, the light is,
Find
unless
the
it's
number, submit it on the Rocky Mountain Power website.
and we're going to go around and inventory that eventually. So it's on our list, but we've had a lot of things. So anyway.
Going back to fiber, so as the distribution system is lit up, then whose responsibility is it to extend it to a house? Is that the house owners to do that, or will that be?
No, that's part of the
this?
project. The project will extend it to every house in Providence. It allows us to extend it
So right to the house.
right into the house.
So there's still back ordered boxes.
We've gotten some of those. There is some back ordered supplies. But at this point, they're going back in. They should have started this week or first of next, actually doing drops to houses to put in the conduit from the road to the house. And they'll start putting in, we'll start with the first 8 to 25 along a route. We've picked a route that we probably think is as friendly as we can connect on, so that first test we can maybe allow them to have a connection for a couple months so that they can test it out with us, and we can take any quirks, and then
Probably Grandview.
it's not all the way up there.
Dave,
We're not house number one. Who's house number
I
one?
was thinking that would probably be the most friendliest.
Because my internet this afternoon was off. So
I think Brent and Kathleen are on the short list. I hope I didn't reveal something I shouldn't have there.
I'm excited.
But at that point, get the test, we're taking the list that we had that had signed up and found the route we have and said, if we can connect on these ones, then we could have a test system and see if we can't really get them happy. And be willing to fix if there's a glitch, because anything new has a glitch. But if we can roll it out, so we're really excited. So anyway, that's where fiber's at. So
I have a side question about the signage in downtown. I know there was a message sent out that the signs were going live. The ones that stop signs and things have been put in.
the ones that have been
adjusted.
bagged on the new roads that we've redone.
So, but I never saw the one go live on First North and First East. So
Yes,
is that still coming?
so great question. And so we have a change order, and Rob kind of alluded to this, but let me go into a little bit more detail. We had a change order to widen the road between Main and First West, to widen it back like we did from First West to Second West. We widened it on the north. We were looking to widen it from First West going east so that we could balance that same width through. And we were waiting for that to occur. It sounds like that will be spring. So that's why it hasn't, because the construction on that hasn't happened yet.
Okay, so they'll stay bagged until that happens.
Or we may remove them through the winter and then put them back up. But when that goes through, that's the design is when we finish that widening, that's when the bags will come off.
I've tried to be very vigilant with the bag. But
So
That might be from First West to Second West. That is just really great. I mean,
we realized there's a dip, but that wasn't in the part we did. So
there's a lot of traffic comes in through that area, and that is really an awesome.
it has helped make a big difference there. I think a lot of that. I mean, I don't think there's a resident that could argue we have the worst streets, because I heard that. Not that it's true, but I heard it.
recently,
But I don't believe anybody could argue that after we've done this project. I think we have some great streets, and so anyway,
You made a comment about a street light.
I'm sorry. It was yeah,
No, you're-
street light, no stoplight.
I gotta share a stop line. I'm sorry, I need to share a story with you. So I was messing around with the red laser one night. I was sitting out on my front porch, and I shined it on the stop sign and lit the stop sign up.
With the solar panel that lights
No,
the,
just a little laser light.
oh, because it was reflective?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So a car came down the hill, like, goes, "Yeah." So, you know, I know there was a comment about the trailer park there, but really, in all honesty, and we did move it, it's gone.
That was one somebody's top, hot button point.
Yeah, it's gone. But the nice thing about it, at least they slowed down to about 15 miles an hour before they went to the stop sign. They usually run at about 30, 35 miles an hour, but at least they slowed down to 15. That was pretty good. Because they couldn't see.
Well, hopefully they stop for all the stop signs. We're trying to make sure that stop signs are in relevant locations and that there's not more than are necessary, but that do promote the traffic to go through on the planned collector roads. So anything else?
Ryan, you might want to mention that the cemetery is kept up very well this year as well.
Yes, I every area, but the cemetery, we've done an amazing job. I think I would dare bet that it has sold out more than it. I bet it maybe set a record as well this year.
I haven't looked, but they've done
It does a lot. And so we're still designing that expansion and working on that, and should have that out to bid this winter and be able to do it in the fall or in the spring. So we've got a lot coming. The master plans are helpful to keep us focused, and we can compare and report what we're doing on that line. So if you have questions or the public has questions what we're doing, you can review those master plans, and that's really where we're going towards. No, I don't have one yet. No, what was it? Sorry, I'm guessing on the boring.
So you between you and Rob talked about a lot of construction that went on this year. There's one project that really didn't get tackled, but when the county council was considering approving our grant award, the question came up because previously the same county council had heard the discussion about 100 South. And they said, okay, now you get the grant award for 100 South. What about all the pickleball controversy in Providence? How's that coming along? Because we have COG money for that, or I'm sorry, we have RAPS money for that.
So the bid came in about 600% higher than what we had budgeted. And so it was one that we will have to come back and look at in the next year, because it was extremely expensive and costly. But we bid it out in the summer, and if we put it out in the winter, maybe it'll do better. I don't know. But
We got one bidder and astronomical.
yeah, at least he was willing to do it, I guess. So I can't fault him for being willing to do it. If we were willing to pull him away from all his other projects, he'd do it at a price. So, but at this point, we have tried to be good neighbors there and work there. Hopefully that noise has helped settle down. So, the complaints have settled in mine. I don't know whether they have any. So but we have tried to be friendly and neighborly.
Thanks, Ryan. Council? Right?
I don't have anything else.
Jerry?
The youth council had their swearing in last night. And we have about 15 youth on the council, and I think they provide good service to Providence. They'll man the Christmas celebration, and one of my goals for 2021 was to get some advisors in place, and we have that, and it takes a lot of pressure off. Last month they were just dying to do a dance, and I was like, oh man, do we have to do a dance? Maybe I reported this last month, but they had a couple hundred kids, and it was good. So, and they planned it all, streamers and all, and I just gave them the budget, and they didn't go over by much. And so I'm proud of them and so grateful to have advisors.
Well, lucky for me, Mayor.
Josh?
Other than we've got one more meeting with you, is that right?
Yes, doesn't mean I won't be here. Just means I won't be sitting in this chair.
I won't miss you.
Anything to report? Okay, I just have one item. Last night, the CMPO Cache Metropolitan Planning Organization met to consider hiring offering a job to an executive director. We have had Jim Gass. Jim is retiring. Jim has been in the job as executive director for 30 years. He used to be, before he retired from his other job, the city manager in Smithfield. He and some other people started the MPO in Cache County 30 years ago, and he said he would do it for a year. And I heard the whole history of it. For the last 11 years, Jeff Gilbert has been the urban planner. Officially, over time, the last 11 years, Jim has handed the job of executive director off to Jeff Gilbert. So we were considering whether to offer him the job directly, to go out to the public, to look internally. And after several meetings, ultimately what we decided to do, what the CMPO decided to do last night, was offer the job to Jeff Gilbert. So now he officially has the job. I just noticed there's a press release that went out from the county about Jeff's promotion, but it also talked kind of in general terms about changes to transportation planning. The CMPO is about transportation and means of travel. So it's obviously privately owned vehicles. It's also transit district. It's also bicycles. It's also pedestrian traffic is part of it. And what I've asked is that the CMPO in the future spend more time, considering the size of this valley is supposed to double by 2050, is that there be more emphasis in planning for pedestrian traffic, crosswalks and things like that. And so that was all taken in, and so that will be part of the discussion and part of the planning process going forward. So that's all I have. I have the COG agreement to sign, and once we sign that, the grant funding process is moving forward. So that's mine.
Ma'am, do you want to see a question regarding that? At one time, there was some discussion of a bypass road going up, possibly the west side of the valley. We take it around Logan for those whatever wanted to bypass and move forward north, which Main Street is becoming so congested.
So initially it became 10th and we swapped. And actually 200 West was a UDOT road going through Providence. So the county swapped that in exchange for UDOT taking 10th West.
Yeah.
So the next one is going to be 20th West or 18th West or something. So that's why we have the COG designated $150,000 for an engineering study to determine the best location as this valley grows, including that bypass you're talking about, which we call 20th West for now. Yes, you're exactly right.
It seems to me, and maybe it's just my age, but it seems to me that the traffic in Logan is sometimes discouraging to even want to be in Logan because it's congested and even our side streets now are becoming. You look at Spring Creek or Gateway Drive, very busy now. And that's good because it means we're getting some off Main Street. And when they get that bypass in, it'll take it out by McDonald's and bring it back out to the highway on First West. That'll help. But it is, and I was just wondering what they were dealing with as far as a future plan to go, to the west.
So the COG funded this county-wide planning effort. And part of it is because there's a lot of wetlands on that side of the valley. And there's a lot of engineering and survey work that's going to need to be done. But there's probably also going to be acquisition of right-of-way and do it now before development happens.
Right.
So that we do have that bypass.
Because as soon as you put a bypass, you're going to get development there.
So when we moved here 15 years ago, I remember the neighbors saying, and you might have heard this story, at one time there was a part of the countywide plan. Was there going to be kind of like a freeway above Grandview Drive that went along the base of the mountains and connected the east side of the valley. And I don't know, just looked around, Scarlett's not here. What's that? It would have been expensive.
Yeah.
So, the other thing I think will help with that, and we probably should wrap up, but just the commercial build out of this side of the valley versus down there. I know Chick-fil-A is eyeing 2 pieces of property in Providence and one out here. Once we get more options, like if you want to go to 2 places, you have to go to the north side of town. And I think we just need some commercial amenities on this side of the valley, so you don't have to take Main Street.
And where's the Mason-Dixon line there?
Where's the light? Mason Dixon.
So,
Center Street and Logan, just stay this side and you'll be just fine. Yep, and everybody north of the center street can stay that way.
Except that North Logan all goes to middle.
Are we through
school
the
and
agenda though? We
Providence.
gotta be through the agenda, right?
Unless we have an executive session, which I don't think we do. To the point about commercial business on this side, there are some people looking at effectively what would be a sports academy only in Providence. And so that'd be great.
Are you
I go up
accepting
there-
motions?
I go up there 3 days a week. Depends on if you have more comments or questions. I know you do.
I'm just stating my opinion, so everyone else can do the same.
I'm
Anybody
done.
else? Jeff, anything you want to add? He hasn't even started yet.
He's already exasperated.
And this is like the shortest
This is the
meeting.
shortest meeting ever.
shortest meeting we've
Shortest
had in
meeting
2
The
ever.
years.
hardest thing is just tying it up. You just have to go after
Wait
it.
till you're after 11 o'clock. Of course, you'll have a new mayor and everything will go a whole lot faster, right, Jeff?
You'll see.
Mayor,
Verdict's out.
Mayor, are you accepting a motion? We can move this along.
Right. The incoming mayor is probably listening, so I'm just. Anyway, yeah, council, anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Josh, go for it.
No, you got it.
I'll make the motion that we
Motion from
adjourn our
Councilmember
meeting.
Kirk, second. From
Second.
Councilmember Seeley, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.